Bills Bengals, guys. It's the game of the week, a potential AFC Championship game preview. Kerrane, I'm sorry we have you pigeonholed as the Bills backfield guy, but as the Bills backfield guy, tell us the latest developments between Devin Singletary and James Cook.
I kind of enjoy it. It's to get to dive in, see what the latest is. It's like a new TV show that I've started watching. No, this is kind of interesting this week because last week I think was very much a Devin Singletary setup. You got bad weather, kind of lean on the kind of more reliable chunk play guy in Singletary, but he only had a 58% snap share. Cook was at 41%. Over the last 4 weeks, Cook now has snap shares of 41%, 36%, 41%, and 43%. He's like a legit part of the offense. And this is, I think, kind of more of a Cook setup where we're looking at, potential shootout with the Bengals high scoring game environment. The guy who's better in the passing game is clearly Cook. If you look at running backs with 20 plus targets, he ranks 9th among running backs in yards per route run. Singletary ranks RB 41 of 49 qualifying running backs. So I think, this is kind of an interesting week to play James Cook. Now, would I play him over Josh Jacobs? Yeah. I probably would. It's a terrible matchup for Jacobs. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, please, God, be parity. Remember, you have to clearly label it parity.
Yeah. Also parity on Montgomery, I would like.
Oh, wow. Okay, good. I actually wasn't sure.
Oh, serious? I thought
you seem pretty serious.
But
Tyler Algier was not. That's close, I think, but I would still play Jacobs.
I think Montgomery's close. I think Montgomery's close.
Yeah, I do too.
Interesting stuff in the Bills backfield. Very hard to evaluate on a weekly basis, but Pat did a good job. Denny, I asked kind of like the way I phrased my Joe Mixon question,
it made me laugh.
It's not. I won't say it on air, but hasn't been producing as. I thought he hadn't been producing. So he has no touchdowns in 3 games since returning from his concussion. Yeah. He is still the RB 19 by average PPR points in that time span, which to me then I was like, wow, just all it really means is he's been producing. This hasn't been scoring. Seems like it would be a good environment for him to finally regress back to his touchdown mean. What do we think with Joe Mixon for week 17?
Right. I mean, it is a good environment, so he has that going for him. But since Samaj P. Ryan started taking a little more of this backfield, it just completely undercut Mixon's ceiling outcomes, which we saw for a bit there when he was seeing everything, when he was seeing all the passing down stuff, all the high value touches in that backfield, and that's what you need for a deeply inefficient fantasy producer like Mixon. You need all of that. He's not getting that now. So I do think that he's more of like an RB2 type play. The Bills have become one of the NFL's most extreme pass funnels, and the Bengals have really committed to the pass, as anybody would know who listens to the show consistently. The Bengals have been well over their expected pass rate in 9 of their past 10 games. So this is obviously not a blip. Like, they're all in.
Life is good
on the pass. It always takes Zach Taylor like a month to figure it out.
It does. He's just like,
it seems to be quicker every year, though.
It is getting a little quicker every year.
So
I want to do the Kyle. The Joe Burrow guy seems like he knows what he's doing. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Go back to the deli, Pat.
I need to visit a few more northeastern delis to get that accent right.
Mixon is still seeing most of the green zone work, so he could end up kind of stumble into the end zone here. Only Jamal Williams has more rushes inside the 10-yard line than Mixon. Not that he's done much with it, but it is something.
Kyle, Jamar Chase, this feels so close to an eruption. I guess you could argue he had one a few weeks ago. I think it was 10 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown. A pretty good game, but just kind of keeps catching like 7 balls for 80 yards. Really good games, wide receiver 1 games. But this feels like he's overdue for like one of these 8-catch, 160-yard, 2 touchdown games. Any reason to predict one for the fantasy finals here against the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, if you are correct that he had like 10 for 119 and a touchdown.
That's a spiked week.
Isn't it like nearly 30? Yeah. Oh, he only put up 28 PPR. There you go. You got it, bud. So, yeah, I mean, of course, any week. This is a tough defensive matchup, but the thing that like the NFL has kind of borne out for us is that defensive matchups are only as difficult as the offense is bad with some degree of margin, right? Like the Bengals have been able to beat difficult defensive matchups, and given that they also face an offense that should be able to put up points, I expect this to be a pretty fun back and forth affair, as does Vegas. It has nearly a 50-point total. And Chase has just been dominant. Even in the past 2 weeks in which T. Higgins has been back and pretty much in his normal role in terms of routes run. He has a 28% target share and a 40% air yard share. So do I think Chase in a 49.5 point total, Jamar Chase can have a big game? Yeah, I think he can.
We won a legendary game, though. We won like 10 catches for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns, what he did against the Chiefs. By the way, Joe Burrow, we're supposed to be a regression candidate this year. The yards per attempt are down almost 1.5 yards, but 34 touchdowns and 1 fewer game. The touchdown rate still over 6%. Joe Burrow is a superstar. I believe.
The analytics have once again failed.
Yeah, he is a confirmed.
Although I gotta say, I was never. Sometimes we should just take guys who are really good.
Yeah, I know.
I'll never. The thing is,
I wrote that several times. The guy's a model breaker. He's a model breaker because he's a superstar.
The analytics, by the way, were the ones telling us that. Right? It was like, oh, the analytics are too hot. Can't trust these analytics.
No, never, ever. Any thoughts, Patrick Kerrane, on Stefon Diggs' recent slump? Slump by his standards, but so I was complaining about Jamar Chase, even though we've had a spiked week, not having any spiked weeks. Stefon Diggs has not had a spiked week in a month. 3 for 37, 5 for 60, 2 for 26 his past 3 weeks. All 3 of those without a touchdown.
A great man once said, "Start your studs. Start your studs." Elite 2.45 yards per route run, even with this little mini slump here. Supported by elite target volume. He ranks 91st percentile in ESPN's open score. They're not just feeding this guy targets for the sake of feeding him targets. He's getting open, plays with Josh Allen. He's in a shootout. He's a focal point of the offense, by the way, with an elite first read target rate. So they are feeding him targets, even though they don't have to because he gets open. I wouldn't sweat it.
I think the one variable that can explain his past, but I don't think will have a bearing on this, is since week 10, which is the first time we saw the Josh Allen elbow injury pop up, they have had a positive pass rate over expected of 1%. They've become a completely balanced team, but they played in a weather game in Chicago, and I believe they had at least one blowout, which I don't care if they have a negative pass rate over expected.
Is it a weather game against the Dolphins? It was snowing. They've had a lot of bad weather.
Yeah, I think that explains what happened in the past. But when push comes to shove, this is still the Bills. I still believe they will uncork Allen in this game, even if maybe it should have been more predictable a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that they would play more balanced. I don't think that has a bearing on this game. So it's Stefon Diggs country. Let's ride.
I've also noted that they have experimented with doing more 12 personnel, more 2 running back stuff, less 3 wide receiver sets. But when they played the Lions on Thanksgiving, they abandoned that completely and just went with a big old 85% of their snaps out of 3 wide receiver sets type of thing. And they've tended to experiment a little bit with that if the matchup kind of favors a little bit more power running, but they're not changing their identity. And I think it's kind of sharp, right? They're heading into the playoffs, they're sort of seeing if they can get that necessary power run, alternate strategy in place for when they might need it. But this is not that game, they're going to be, I think, putting the pedal to the floor.
Last week, they definitely leaned into that, mindset of exploiting the opponent's main weakness. And, the Bears are terrible in all aspects on defense, but especially against the run. Both Singletary and Cook had over 100 yards and touchdown. They had 3 total rushing touchdowns against them. There was no, they weren't even pretending. They were establishing it. That the Bengals are not in that position, or are not going to put them in that position at all.
As Sal slices my honey ham to the exact perfect level of thickness, he's saying to start your studs, start Stefon Diggs, start Josh Jacobs. Yeah, then I begin to bicker with him because I asked for a pound of honey ham and it's 0.86 pounds of honey ham. And then we get in a fist fight and it goes viral on TikTok.
That would go viral, I'll tell you what.
Come on, maybe it's 0.92 pounds. I'd accept that, but 0.86. This is ridiculous, man.
You slap Sal with a slice of honey ham right across the face.
No, I have a thing of frozen garlic bread and just hit him in the face.
Oh, wow.
You're screaming about inflation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jerome Powell.
Yeah, yes.
You call this honey ham?
Yeah, I quote, make a scene, and then quote, get arrested, and quote, can't host Rotoworld Football Show next week.